Okay. Should we get going?
Yeah. Can you hear us? Yeah? Okay.
Can we start? Right. Okay. Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. I'm Babita. I am International Managing Director at Zappi. For those of you who are wondering, Zappi is the consumer insights platform that helps brands and marketers make better decisions when it comes to their creative and new products that they bring to market. So today's session, and it's going to be a conversation between myself and Jennifer, we are going to be rethinking about how we remove the barriers of bringing the consumer voice to marketers within their process. And I'm absolutely privileged to have Jennifer here today, who I've loved working with for many, many years. And in fact, she tells me that I did tell her I loved her at Cannes last week after a few bottles of rosé. So I did. So Jennifer Picard is Global Insights Transformation Lead at Opella. And the reason I've asked Jennifer here today is because when it comes to removing barriers, she has been a pioneer, and I would really love for you to hear from her. So Jennifer, just a bit of background about you, is a leader in helping companies reimagine the role of insights. Not just a function that delivers data, but a partner that builds a real-time insights engine that helps power smarter marketing. And it remains true, and I'm sure all of you agree, that if once you embed the customer voice within the creative process, marketers can take bigger risks and have bigger wins. So let's get started. So Jennifer, let's start off with a bit of background. I know we're going to be talking about some of the benefits and the dynamics that change within the business that you've worked within, but I'd like to anchor the audience on what exactly have you done, because you've been hugely influential in democratizing insights amongst marketing communities and the organizations you work with. So can you just describe what that looks like?
Yeah, thank you, Babita. So that's a bit unusual as a role. So maybe you don't know people who have actually the same role than I do in global organizations. And my job is really about transformation. So I've been, as Babita mentioned, in insights for 20 years. But I really, for the past 10 years, really focus on transformation with all of the implications, change management and operational excellence. So what I do concretely is to make sure, among different things, to connect and to make sure that insights and creativity work together as a win-win partnership, which is not always the case in many organizations. Creative people may be a bit afraid of insights or bored with insights or not really leveraging them in the right way. So to answer that, what I usually do is to really centralize a function of transformation and to bring a system of insights that all insights people and marketeers can leverage within global organizations, which implies different things.
Yeah. So what have been the benefits of that? How's it changed? How's it helped the marketeers on the ground?
So maybe just two elements on what it is concretely, just and so that you can maybe better understand the benefits. But there are two things that are very important within those type of transformation. One is really operational excellence, which means like finding the right partners, not just signing off with platforms, but making sure you have the best ecosystem of partners for specific needs that you identify for your own organization. So it's not just tools like this, it's like use cases that have, for which we develop the right tools that will be really adapted to a specific organization. So prior to today, I was working for Wines and Spirits. Now I work in an organization that is more about healthcare. There are different challenges, different types of maturity. So I need to adapt, but there are two fundamentals that are the same, which is really that ecosystem of partners, a system of platforms and insights that are to be at the fingertips of marketeers. And the other one that is, I think, the biggest challenge is change management and change in behavior.
Yeah, I think you make a point there, because obviously you've worked across multiple organizations. You've spent 20 years in insights, and you also have a background in journalism. So how have you sort of changed what you've been doing to suit the different cultures? Because the culture of the organization you work with is super, super important. So what have been the differences across Pernod and Opella, which are two very different organizations?
Yes, so in Wines and Spirits at Pernod Ricard, marketeers were very strong there, so it was more a case for them to make sure that they would leverage actually insights in their process. At Opella, it's a bit of the other way around. It's we're coming from pharmaceuticals, entering FMCH. So sorry for the noise. I don't know if you can hear me. And so which means really healthcare becoming more of a CPG model, and we need to strengthen marketing in that case. So the challenges are very different. At Opella, people are super used, are really a bit more risk averse, and would overtest sometimes. So different challenges, but an answer that is quite similar in terms of processes, as I mentioned, with on one hand the system of insights to really put insights at the fingertips of marketeers, and the other one is the change in behavior.
Yeah, we'll talk a bit about the change behavior because that is so important. We talk about the friction points, right? So from your experience, what have been the real friction points that have stopped marketeers from using insights on a day-to-day basis?
So I think this is a very good question, and all the transformation I lead, I think, starts with that first point. It's like often marketeers are bored with tests, or they don't trust tests, or they don't want tests. Why? Because it's really a pain in the ass, really, most of the time. It's really, for most of you, it really takes too much time, stimuli to develop, alignment with different teams, a lot of money and all that, which I completely agree with. So what we try to do is to really make insights that would be time to marketing. So that's the whole point that I try to bring, which sometimes it's a bit of a real change in behavior also for the insights people I work with. But I truly believe this is the only way we can make it happen, making sure that we change the point of view of creative and marketeers towards insight in the creative development process.
Yeah, so what you're saying there, it's going from a process of tick box exercise, validation, to actually learning from the data that you provide marketeers.
Exactly. So we move from we're trying to pass a test, a validation test, to a system that is more like test, learn, optimize, where the marketing can really test, or the creative people really test draft ideas, learn from whatever they get as insights, and then continue their creative process with this without feeling judged by anyone. It's just like insights for them to learn and to develop if they want it. It's not like for insights people to say, okay, yeah, you did the right or you did wrong, your creative work is good or bad. This is not the point. I really believe that we need to move from that if we need to leverage insights.
So can you give me an example? I know we were talking about this earlier around how does it change the dynamics for marketeers? You talked about an example at Pernod, which I'd love you to share with the audience, of how having this consumer data at hand and letting marketers do their own testing really change things for them on a day-to-day basis, and also your partnership with them.
Yeah, completely. So there are different things. The first one is that really it helps them to be more efficient and effective. So it seems to be very, I would say, evident, but really it is the case, because the more you test at earlier phases, the better the execution all the time. We measure this, Zappi measured that, I've measured it in meta-analysis, so this is really true. So that's the first thing, I think, the first impact. But then there's also a capacity to really be empowered with insights and even be like advocates of insights. So an example at Pernod Ricard, we had an internal studio, a creative studio within the organization, it's still there. And the best ambassadors of the ecosystem of tools I developed there, that was called As Now, was actually the director of the studio, who was leveraging himself really the tool. So he was trained, he was able to really pre-test any or screen any ideas he was developing, so that he could pitch the best ideas to his marketeers. So he was really fully autonomous with it, and he could say, okay, and it has been stamped with reliable insights measures, so you can trust that this is the best route we would like to leverage on the next step. So for me, that was the best achievement, really, to have someone purely creative, fully autonomous with our tools. Of course, there was a lot of work to get there. It's a huge learning curve, a lot of preparation, but that was really the end goal.
And how did you prepare the marketers? Because you mentioned earlier around it's all well and good having the systems in place and having consumer insights there at real time, delivering them faster and making it usable. But how do you prepare, work with the marketing teams and senior stakeholders to drive this transformation across both businesses? Because it can be different.
Yeah, so this is, I think, the key point here. This is what makes the difference between just like signing off with one platform or having someone driving the transformation on a bigger scale. So it's a huge objective that must be really backed by top senior management. You need to invest at beginning. You need to test. You need to see if it's going to work and to adapt it to your organization. But it's a full program of transformation. So first we need to have a strategy. We need to have it validated to do some pilots, and then we need to really deploy it in a very, I would say, intense way to train people all over within the organization with the tools, but also a lot with the behavior change, the ways of working, and how to really feel empowered. So it goes really beyond just be trained with the tool, which your teams would do very well, just to do that part. There's a big part for us internally within organization to embed really those transformation within the organization.
Is it fair to say the way you've built the system, particularly when you're at Pernod, and I know it's going to be slightly different at Opella, working with the insights and running the testing was almost like ordering a coffee?
Yeah, so to get there, it takes a lot of work on my side that is not always visible, but that's the plan. Yeah. So what we do, and that's what I've been doing also at Opella, is to try to really first diagnose what are the specific needs within an organization, so that then we develop a toolbox that is really just, for instance here, thought at Opella, made at Opella, for which we identify a pool of partners that we feel would be a good fit, and then we really define a specific toolbox just for the needs of that organization. And then they can order in the menu, okay, I need to do a screener to screen an ID for my new advertising. So I know exactly what tool I have to do. I don't have to think at all of any KPI, any processes. I just need to think about what I need to test. And I just do it within a day, and I get the results, basically.
But a lot of work goes in the background. A lot of work goes in the preparation and the setup.
About a year of preparation ahead, and just to have a full system going on.
Yeah. And then how do you deal with some of the challenges, particularly from the creatives in the room, between the rigor and the data, and this actually impacting or dumbing down the creative process?
Yeah, so just the idea is to really make sure that they believe that what we are going to bring is reliable. In terms of insights. So it's not quick and dirty insights because it's a platform. So we prove that even, for instance, working with Zappi, we have really reliable pre-test that we do. A lot of proofs in that way. But there's also a lot of agility for them so that they can really have fast results, as I was mentioning, within one day or so, or even faster sometimes.
Okay, I've been given the finger, but 1 minute, so I'm just going to wrap things up. What final advice would you give to marketers in the room if they want to bring this kind of transformation to their work? Because you've shown the ROI where you were, and you're clearly driving that transformation where you're at today. One final piece of advice.
So operational change is super important, of course, but it's really the step one. So finding really the right platforms, thinking of all that part. Then the part on really behavior change and through partnerships. So with very good partners like yours, this is why we continue to work together, because I trust you in that partnership. But also internally between insights and creative teams, this is what is the game changer in the end and makes it less boring, I would say.
Thank you. Are we at time? Perfect.